Well, I like to think I learned something from the previous panels, and that is we need to have enough time for audience questions. So I'm just going to start off here, ask a couple of questions. But when you guys get ready to ask a question, just line up at the microphones here, and I'll switch over to audience questions. But let me start off here. Now, Ken's already weighed in a little bit on the proposal to change the commission to include a focus on human rights. Let me throw that one at Mindy, too. What do you think about that proposal?
Because I see the commission as a vehicle for providing information to the policymakers in the country, the president and Congress, to me that would be up to them. If that is information they need that's useful, then certainly. If the commission is throwing information at a brick wall, then it's not, then it's wasting the resources and the expertise of everyone in the commission. And so I guess I can't comment because the commission needs to know who its audience is, and it has to provide the information and material its audience is demanding.
Russell, do you have thoughts on that?
I would agree with what Ken said explicitly, that the commission focus needs to be increased, not diluted. If someone should do human rights, they should, but we're not uniquely qualified to do, the commission's not uniquely qualified to do that. So I think it could be a distraction.
Another jurisdictional issue that has come up and was mentioned in the panel description is the notion of expanding the jurisdiction of the commission to include issues like the issues that we've been discussing today, that is family structure issues. And I guess my first question there is that already within our jurisdiction, or would we have to go to Congress and ask for permission to have the conference that we seem to already be having? Ken, what do you think about that?
I think the timing is a little funny of the question.
Sorry about that.
You know, it is interesting because I think that the commission over many years has often pushed the envelope in terms of what fits specifically within its mandate dealing with the issues of race, national origin, sex, discrimination, so on and so forth. Much of what the commission does is straight on dealing with discrimination. Some of it is tangential. I think that there has been a lot of talk today about whether certain disparities or disadvantages are the result of discrimination or other factors. And alternatively, whatever the cause is, whether people should act as if they are purely victims or whether they should act in a different way. I think that this is sort of, I think that this particular issue is at the margins. I think that this has been a fabulous conference. If there is a will to have substantially more involvement in issues that relate not specifically and narrowly to discrimination, but questions about which we talked today, then that is potentially a topic for legislation to expand the jurisdiction of the agency. But I would be concerned a little bit about diluting the focus of the agency. In the event that this commission doesn't focus on these issues to a greater extent, I think that raises a question of who should. Because regardless of whether it's the commission or not that needs to continue the dialogue that we heard today, I think the dialogue we heard today is a very important one, and it should be carried forward someplace or other.
Russell, do you have thoughts on that?
One thing that the commission can do much more of, and it has the subpoena authority to do this, is investigate the federal government erosion of our civil rights. Now, you mentioned some of that. I think that vastly more of that the commission can do. Often that isn't, those erosion of those rights are unintended consequences, but that is a very valuable product.
Could you be a bit more specific on what kind of erosion of civil rights you're talking about?
Well, you mentioned earlier the some of the civil rights effects of the health legislation that the commission is investigating. Well, one that comes to mind that we all are concerned about and should be, because it affects all of us, is the home security, what's that called? The Homeland Security. That legislation, I don't think has been adequately vetted, especially after implementation, for the civil rights erosions and possible violations that we've come to accept.
Of course, our jurisdiction has to do with race, gender, and religion, so we'd have to have a hook there.
As Ken said, in the past, the commission has been able to discover those hooks. Anyway, I speak from my personal opinion and something that I see that's needed, that the commission is very qualified to undertake and does have the subpoena power. So you may, in fact, not have the hook. But
I do think it's a great idea, and I would certainly like to hear more from the Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board on that, because that's an agency that could be dealing with this also and should have specific expertise in the topic, but has not been doing it.
Yeah, if it's being done, then no reason to duplicate.
Mindy, did you have a comment before we go on to the audience?
I'm not so sure that those aren't the exact conversations the commission should be having. To me, those are not expanding the jurisdiction, but a lot of what has been discussed here today, to me, are solutions or potential solutions to the problems within the commission's jurisdiction. And as someone looking at the commission from the perspective of Congress, to me, I would have liked to have heard lots of solutions rather than just problems. And I think if the commission can work with to uncover these kinds of solutions, that goes a long way within keeping with its jurisdiction.
Well, let's take some questions from the audience.